Welcome to the front end web development bootcamp. My name is Joshua, and I'll be your instructor, your coach, your teacher in this web development journey. All right, let us start. First and foremost, we need to create a folder that we are going to be working on, or we are going to be working with, and the folder that I create is called front end web development folder. So I created it on my desktop, so you can create it in any directory that you want in your file manager. You can create it in your document, but I created my own on my desktop, so that's why you can see it here, front end web development. And you should already have a VS Code installed on your system. You should have VS Code installed on your system. I have a video on how to install VS Code, so I'm going to send that to you. But if you can do that yourself, no problem. So, and this is the VS Code I'm talking about here. So it is a text editor that we use to write codes. And there are several text editors actually, that is several text editor aside from Visual Studio Code. We have Sublime Text 3, we have Bracket, we have Atom, we have Notepad plus plus, a lot of them like that aside from Visual Studio Code. But the one I love the most, and the one that is very prominent and common that most developers use, is what Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code in this front-end web development journey. So I urge you to also download what the Visual Studio Code as well. All right, so let's proceed. I'm going to open this front-end web development in my Visual Studio Code. So it is simple. All I just have to do is to click on my Visual Studio Code. Once I click on it, though I already have it opened, so I'm just going to redo it. Um, so this is what I have. So I'm just going to right click. Once I click on this file, I'll click on this file, then it's going to bring me to open. You're going to see these icons, this menu here that you can navigate to. But actually, what I want is I want to open the folder since I already have it created in my desktop. So I want to open the folder in my on my VS Code. So I just have to click open folder, then it will take me to this part here. So it will take me to front end development, or you can just click on desktop and to take you to front end web development. So if your folder is not in desktop, you can go to wherever you store it and click on the folder. So I'm going to click on the folder here. So it's going to show front end web development here as this input. So I'll just select folder, I'll select it, then it's going to open here. So now this is my Visual Studio Code environment. This is where I write my code. So all right, now let's proceed. The next thing I also want us to look at is to also create subfolders. Now this front end web development folder is serving as the is serving as the major folder, or the parent folder, or the containing folder of every other folder that we are going to be creating inside. So for the sake of organization and structure, we are going to be creating subfolders. Like for this class now, we are going to have class one folder, and everything that we are going to be doing in today's class is going to be inside of class one folder. So to create class one folder, we come here. Let me just enlarge this a bit. For enlarge this, look at what we have. We can see these four icons, and let us see what these four icons represent. So this one here represents what? New file. This one represents new folder. This one represents refresh explorer, and this one represents collapse folders in explorer. Now, and this is the explorer here. Nothing is there actually because we have not created anything. So now we are going to create a new folder, not a new file. So if we want to create a new folder, we'll come here, then we create a new folder, or we can just right click on this panel here. Anywhere in the panel, we just want to right click and we click on new folder. It's going to bring out a new folder for us. So we can do it in many ways. or we can even go to our desktop, click on that parent folder and click on new, or click on create new folder. Then we can create a folder there as well. So all these things is something that you should be acquainted with in your computer knowledge. So you need a prior knowledge on computer and know how to navigate, how to do some simple things. So that is beyond the scope of this class. So you have to know how to operate computer to a level, not to be an expert, know how to create folder, know how to delete folder, know how to create a file, all those things like that is very important. So you don't know you don't have to be an expert in computer, you don't have to be an expert in typing, you don't have to be an expert. Just know how to create folder and delete folder, create file and delete file. Those are the things that you need. Then every other thing to be communicated to you in the course of this training. So all right, so we are going to create a folder here. So I'm going to call it class one. I'm going to call it class one. So that means so this class one now is a subfolder of this front end web development folder. So now the first language we're going to be looking at in our front-end web development course is going to be HTML. So we are going to create an HTML file in this class one folder, and to do that, we are going to come here, we right click, because right now, coming right now, if we click here, now I want to create a new folder actually. So to create, no, not folder, we want to create a file inside of class one. So to create a file inside of class one, all you just have to do is to click on what? Class one. Click on class one. So once you click on class one, then this you can see this border, this highlight, this border is on class one, meaning that this class one is in its focus state. That means you are on class one. The attention is on class one. Then you what? Right click, then you type new file, or you can do it like this. Just come here and click on new file, whichever one that you feel that is okay for you. So new file, then what did I want to create? Index dot what? Um, index.html. So now I've created my HTML file. So the most important thing in creating HTML file is the extension. What is the extension? The extension is the .html. So any other thing before the extension doesn't really matter. It's just a name. So index can be index.html, home.html, your name.html, anything.html. But the most important aspect of that naming file is what? The extension, which is what? .html. So the VS Code software will be able to recognize the file as what? An HTML what? File. So please take note of that. Now, before we can start anything in the HTML, so you can see the way I can adjust it. I can adjust it, and if I can adjust it, I can collapse the Explorer. Can you see? I can collapse it. So now in this index.html, we can't just come and be writing anything here. No, it is not done. So for us to be able to write any HTML code, or to write any text or anything, a markup thing, we first of all need what? A boilerplate. We need what? Boilerplate. So boilerplate is what we use. Boilerplate is very important, because now the file or the version of HTML that we are working with is what? Version 5, and version 5 has its own boilerplate that is different from version 4, version 3 and all that. So HTML5 has its own boilerplate. So in order for us to be able to generate boilerplate, we there's a software or an application that is integrated into the VS Code that actually helps us to generate the boilerplate by default, instead of us typing it one after the other, which is very painstaking and stressful. So because if we have to do that, we are going to spend much time. So but with the Mnet abbreviation that is integrated into the VS Code, so it's good. Once we just type a shortcut, it's going to generate what? The HTML boilerplate. So it will actually help us to save time, help us to be more efficient, and 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 it will save stress. All right, so to do that, all you just have to do is just question mark. So now question mark, you can see it comes up with this eminent abbreviation. So you are going to click this first one. Once you click this first one, it generates the HTML boilerplate. You can see this is the word HTML boilerplate. This is the HTML boilerplate. HTML boilerplate. So this is HTML version 5. Can you see doc type HTML? So all these things, all that you can see here, you might not understand them now if you are new to web development. So all these things that you see here, they are tags actually. They are tags. You can see they are tags. You can see tags, and I'm going to be explaining that to us, and you are going to get a full grasp of what it actually means. So now in the HTML, now this is the doc type. Then the HTML talks about the root. So the HTML is the root, and inside of the HTML we have what the head and the body. So this is what we have here. Now every other information or the information that we have inside of this head. So this meta simply means data. Meta sim- simply means data. Simply means data. Information about what? Information about your file or the web your file actually. So I'm not going to go in depth into all of this one after the other today. I will look at that probably in tomorrow or next tomorrow. So let's just go straight to the most important point. So all this actually will not reflect in the browser. All this because if I open this now, if I open this with live server, if I open this with live server, you'll notice that nothing is here actually. Notice that nothing is actually here. The only thing that you can see is the title, which is what document. It is the title, so that's document. So I can come and change it to front end class one. If I change to front end class one and I save, look at what we have, front end class one. So if I go back to my VS Code, so nothing is showing there aside from the title. Why? It is because there's nothing in the body. There's nothing in the body tag. There's nothing there. So what are we going to do? Now there are some extensions that I downloaded on my VS Code that I feel that is going to help you actually. Extension that I downloaded. Now number one is um you can I think you need live server. This will actually help you to preview your website automatically. So we have live server, you need this. Then we have a material icon theme. You also need this. Then if you want this kind of color combination, this kind of theme, you can download Monokai Pro. Then which other one again? At least for now, I think that's just it. And you need Prettier. Where is Prettier? You need Preacher. So you need Preacher, Monokai Pro, Material Icon Theme, and then Live Server as one of the extensions. So you have to be connected to the internet so that you can have this downloaded on your system. So let me just move to this part here. So that's that. So now let us talk about HTML. What exactly is the meaning of what HTML? So I have a small note here. Let's comment. What is HTML? Now, we come across all kinds of documents every day of our lives, such as newspaper, insurance forms, shop catalog, and the list go on and on. So in all kinds of documents, structure is very important in helping the reader to understand the message you are trying to convey or pass across and to navigate around the document. So in order to learn how to write pages, it is very important to understand how to structure documents. So what is the meaning of HTML? HTML simply means hypertext language, hypertext markup language. Sorry, I'm supposed to add the markup there. It simply means hypertext markup language. Hypertext markup language, and it is used to describe the structure of a web page. HTML consists of numerous elements that are used to describe the structure of what? Of a page. So markup, a hypertext markup what? Language. So the reason why you cannot see anything, the reason why you cannot see anything here, it is because we've not actually written anything on the body tag. We've not written anything on the body tag, and this will lead me to the next point that I want to explain to you, which is HTML elements, tags, and what? Attributes. HTML elements, tags, and attributes. So what are HTML elements? What is a tag and what was an attribute? So we are going to look at it one after the other. Now, an element or HTML element consists of tags and contents and sometimes attributes. HTML element consists of what? Tags and content and sometimes what? Attributes. So what do I mean by that? Now, let us take a look at tags too. So tags act like what? Containers. Tags act like what? Containers. They tell you something about the information that lies between the opening and the closing tag. So I have a picture here that will actually help you with this. So HTML element. Now look at how HTML elements looks like. So now you have this opening angle bracket and the closing angle bracket. So all of this makes up what? The opening tag. Why this one too? Opening angle bracket and closing angle bracket, all of this makes up what? The closing tag. So this, it is similar to, if you are very good in mathematics, it's similar to less than sign and what? Greater than symbol. So that's what it means. So it is called opening angle bracket and closing angle what? Brackets. And in between this opening, or in between the opening tag and the closing tag is what? This content. You can see this is a paragraph. So this content is what is going to be displayed in the browser. So like I said, that HTML element consists of what? Tags and content and sometimes what? Attributes. So we are going to look at attributes in no distant time from now. Um, just let's just focus on this actually. So we have opening tag and what? Closing tag. And if you look at the difference between, if you look at the tags that we have, the opening tag and the closing tag, there's only one difference between the two. There's only one difference between the opening tag and the closing tag. And what's the difference? The forward slash. The forward slash is what makes the difference between opening tag and what? Closing tag. So the tags, like I said earlier on, serve as what? Container. So now you can see this character that is in between this, that is in the tag, the opening angle bracket and the closing angle bracket. You can see the characters there. So this character represents what? The element name. And what's the element name? It means what? Paragraph. So whenever you're writing a document, you need what? You need a title head, you need a heading, and you need paragraph, and you need other contents. So all these contents that you need to be able to write a document, whether it is a newspaper, whether it is catalog, shop catalog, whatever kind of document that you want to write, you need what? Headline, you need heading, you need paragraph, you need images, you need list of, if you want to list out some things, you need list items, you need a lot of things. So all these things are being provided by what? HTML what? Element. They are being provided by HTML element, and that is the reason for this course. So I'm going to be taking you through all the HTML elements that we have and how we can use them on our web page. So let's dive in. So okay, all right. So that's that actually. So the opening tag and the what? Closing tag. So that is why if you notice here, you can see that everything is all about what? Tags. You can see tags, HTML tag. This is an opening tag, and see this is the closing tag. So apparently, in between the HTML tag, the HTML opening tag and the HTML closing tag, you have what? The body and the head. And even the head tag also is what? Both closing and both opening and what? Closing tag. Also for the body too, both opening and what? Closing tag. Like I said, everything that you have in this body tag will not reflect in your what? Browser. It is just an information of your file that your browser have to read. So it's something that happens behind the scene. So whatever you want to show on your browser is something that should be done what? In the body. So it's just like a letter. When you write Okay, I'm writing to so person, so person. You write your address, you write the address of the person and whom the address is being the whom the letter is being addressed to. So that's just like the letter head. Then the main body of the letter is what the information you want to actually write. So that is what it means. So it's just like a letter actually. So in this case, the head, the information that you put inside of the head tag will not show in the browser, but it is something that the browser understands. It's an information for the browser, not for the user. It's an information for what the browser. So the browser knows what it's talking about. So it will not show. So what if whatever you want to show in your browser is what you write in the body. So now that I've explained element, that element consists of tags and content and sometimes attribute. And I said tags, they are containers. They are what containers, and we have opening tag and we have closing tags. So, but not all elements all have closing tag. There are some elements that are what self-closing and which we are going to look at in the course of this what training today. Okay, all right. So now let's look at HTML element for text. So HTML element for text we are going to be looking at today. We are going to look at two, and which is what heading and what paragraph. Now for heading, heading has we have six types of heading. We have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So different type of heading, and I'm going to show you, and you're going to see the difference yourself. So how do we do that? First of all, we type what? The opening angle bracket, then we type H1. Please make sure it is small letter, H small letter. Doesn't mean that if you use capital letter it won't work, but this is just the convention, please. So then closing bracket, then automatically it's going to give you this is going to give you the closing tag of this H1 automatically. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type heading one. So I'll come down. So I will leave. So I'm going to use this my direction in my keyboard to move it from what? Move it to this to move my cursor to this position. I press enter and I type again H2 and in between it you can see once I just please I want you to observe this. The moment I type the opening angle bracket then H1 then the opening and the closing angle bracket automatically it generates the closing tag for me. I was supposed to write H2. So now you can see the cursor that is blinking in between the opening tag and the closing tag of H2. That is where you have to put your what? Your content. So here I'm going to write heading 2. So now that you are done writing your content, still see the cursor that is still blinking. So if you want to go out of that tag, if you want to come out of it, just move your cursor and come to this side. Then you press enter. Then the same thing to H3. Then you type heading 3. Same thing too for H4. Heading 4. The same thing too for H5 till 6. Heading 6. So fantastic. So all right, this is what we have, and let's view it on our browser. So I already have it. I already have live server installed. So please go to that extension, and most importantly, install live server. Install live server because with live server, once you once you preview, once you want to view this, if you want to view this on your browser, you just need live server. So if you have live server installed inside of your VS Code, all you just have to do is to right click on the file and you will see something like open with live server. So I already have it opened already. So once I save it there, it's going to automatically show here. So I've opened the file with live server before. I don't need to open it again and again with live server. So once I've opened the file with live server once, all I just have to do is the moment I save my file is going to what reflect here. Do you get that now? So that's what we have here. So that's for what H1. Now look at the difference in the types. Can you see H1 is bolder? No, H1 is big. So it's all about font size. The font size of H1 is bigger than every other font size. The every is bigger than H2 font size, like that, like that, like that. So you may want to ask, when should I use H1 and when should I use H2? When should I use H3? When should I use H4 and when should I use H5? When should I use H6? So I might not say that in theory now, but when we start doing practical, then you will know when to use H1, when to use H3 down to what H6. But one of the heading that we use more often than not is H1, H2, H1, H2, H1, H2. That is the heading that we use more often than what not. All right, so let's proceed. I hope you're enjoying the class. Now, the next one I also want to show you is what paragraph. So we want to write a paragraph text. So I can come here, I can do something like opening angle bracket P. So I put my content, so I can just say welcome to the front end web development 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 bootcamp. It it promises to be engaging, engaging, impactful, interesting, impactful, and many more. Let's just use it. Many more. So if we save this, it's what we have. Can you see? Welcome to the front end web development bootcamp. It promises to be engaging, impactful, and what? And many more. Okay, all right. So this is what we have. So this is what we have so far. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to remove this H1, H6 to H2. I'm going to remove that, and I'm just going to change the content here. I'm just going to say welcome. I'm just going to say front end web development. Front end web development. So if I save, here we go. Can you see front end web development? Then this is the paragraph. So next here, I'm going to, okay, now let's look at attributes. Attributes are attributes provide additional information about the content of an element. It provides additional information about the content of an element. So they appear on the opening tag of an element and are made up of two parts, a name and a value. A name and a value. So if you look at this other part here, can see attribute contains extra information about the elements that won't appear in the content. So whatever thing that the attribute actually don't appear in the content, but it provides what extra information about the element. So let us look at this. So attributes are added in the opening tags. So elements of an HTML can have more than one attribute, can have many what attribute. An attribute usually have a name and a value. So attributes should have spaces between attributes. Attributes should have spaces between attribute and many more. So let's take for instance, so like I said attributes are written in the opening tag of an element. So let's just use this P tag now, for example. So I'm going to come in between the opening angle bracket and the closing angle bracket. So here now, this is the opening tag actually. So I'm going to create space. Then I'm going to do something. I'm going to create an attribute. Let me just do something like a class. I just do class equals, I can just do para. So now this class here is representing the name, while this para here is representing what the value. So you can see class para. So it is separated by what? An equal sign. So class para. So all of this now is what this makes up what an HTML what attribute, and you can have more than one attribute in a page in an element. So like I said, that attributes are separated by space. This is what we have. We say attributes should have spaces between attributes. So if we want to create another attribute aside from this attribute, so we have to create what? We have to click on the space. To have, we must have a space between them. So we say space, and then what do we want to create again? I can say language. I say language. I can say US. So that's English USA. So something like this. Something like this. So can you see? So if I go on my browser now, you can't see it on the you can't see it inside of the browser because it will not appear in the content, but it provides extra information of that element. So this is it here. So we are going to look at that in details when we move to other elements. So just know that this is what HTML attribute looks like. So I'm just going to clear it off since you are going to have the recording. All right, so let's proceed. Now we've done heading and paragraph, so let's look at structural and semantic what markup. Let's look at structural and semantic markup. What exactly is the meaning of structural and semantic what markup? Now, like I said earlier, that HTML is used to describe the structure of a web page, and there are HTML elements that we use to describe structure of a web page. Now, this leads us to what structural and semantic markup. So, structural markups are elements that are used to describe the structure of our pages. I repeat, structural markups are elements that are used to describe the structure of our pages, such as heading and what paragraph. There are many more. There are many. As it's not just limited to heading and paragraph. We have we have images, we have forms, we have text, list, we have many, we have table, we have many. All these elements actually forms the structure of what of our web pages. So let us, and we have actually um, looked at just two examples, heading and what paragraph, and we are going to look at other HTML, structural HTML elements. So now let's look at semantic markups. Semantic markups are elements that add extra information to the page but do not affect the structure of our web page. So this kind of element does not affect or do not affect the structure of our web page, but it adds extra information. Let's say, for example, if you have a text and you want a particular portion of that text to be what italicized or to be emphasized so that people know that this particular portion of this text is very important. So that kind of emphasized text is called what semantic markup. So it doesn't affect the flow or the structure of what the web page. So we are going to look at that. Let's say, for example, I come here, I want to welcome to the let me just okay, welcome to the 10 weeks 10 weeks web development bootcamp. So let's say I want to emphasize on this portion here, which is 10 weeks web development bootcamp. So what I'm going to do is, let me just cut it. So I'm going to use something like B. So I want to make it bold. So I put it there. So this is what a bold tag, a bold tag. So I'm going to paste it inside in between the opening tag and the closing tag of bold. And let us see what we have here. Now can you see? So this is what an emphasize what um text. So this is a semantic element. So it doesn't affect the structure of what the web page. So we can use text, we can use bold to make a text look bold, or we can also use what we call strong. We can use strong too as well. We can use strong. So we just come and say strong. Also come here, we say strong. We'll save. To still give us the same thing. Can you see? Strong, still giving us the same thing. Let me zoom it so I can see it. Can you see it? It's giving us the same thing. And the next thing is we can also make it italicized, so we can do something with it. You can say italize, and that's I. That's for italize. So we can use CSS to do all of this actually. So can you see it is now what italicized? Can you see this part? It is what italicized. So that's that. Let's proceed. We can also for an alternative for italize is what emphasis. Emphasis, EM. Emphasis is also an alternative for what italize. So it also italizes what text too. Can you see the same thing too? So there's no difference. So this kind of markup is called what semantic what markup. All right, let's proceed. I think I've done justice to that. So let us look at the block and inline block. Now, please mind you, the structural markup is not limited to headings and paragraph. We also have other structural markups like list. So under list, we have unordered list and ordered list, definitive definition list. We have table element, which is also a structural markup. We have other elements like form, a lot of them like that, that also serve as structural markup, which is not limited to heading and paragraph. So heading and paragraph is just for text. Please take note of that. Thank you. All right, so let's look at block and inline block. So once we look at this, we look at this, then afterwards, then we'll look at this, then we end the class. So um, now let's look at block and inline block. What exactly is block element and inline element? So block elements are elements that start on a new line and occupy the full width available. Block elements are elements that start on a new line and occupy the full width available. I repeat, block elements are, are elements that start on a new line and occupy the full width available. And you can set what width and height to it. Now, let's take, for example, this HTML, this is a web page. Now, we have text here. Apparently, this one is what heading, and this is what the paragraph. So, and the heading that we use here is what H1, and the paragraph is what P tag, H1 tag, and P tag. So now notice that this the notice that they are stacked on top of each other. Why is it stacking on top of each other? Because they are what block elements. Block element in the sense that regardless of the size of their content, they usually takes up the full width available in the browser. They takes up the full width available what in the browser. So they takes the full width available in the browser. So they cover the entire screen. They cover the entire what browser screen. Can you see it? But the content is not covering it, but actually it is covering. That is why you can. That is why this other text here is coming under this one. So for us to be able to have a visual representation of it, to be able to aid our understanding, there's a Chrome extension that I downloaded that we can use to be able to see how it looks like, and it is called pesticide. So if you want to download pesticide, just go to Chrome extension, Chrome store. Go to Chrome store and search for pesticide, add it to your Chrome extension. So let us see how it looks like. So this is the pesticide. It looks like bedbug. So all right, so let's click on it. So now look at what we have here. Can you see if I hover on this now, you can see that it's taking the full width available regardless of the size of its content. It's taking the full width available, and also look at this one too, also taking the full width available. So this makes this what a a block element. So this is a block what element. So and I say like I said earlier, that block element starts on a new line and then takes the full width available. They take the full width of your browser. They takes the full width. So they are not dragging space with anybody at all. So if as a block element, they take the full width of the browser. So every block element usually start on the next line. Please take note of that. I might say that in your text. Every block element usually start on the next line, and they also have a character of occupying the full width available in your browser. So this is it. This is a block what element. So that's that. So with this now you can see with pesticide we're able to see that actually this is what a block what element. Can you see it? Can you see it? So now let's proceed. Um Let us look at inline element. What are inline elements? Inline elements are elements that does not start on a new line and only occupy just the width it requires. Just the width it requires. They don't start on a new line and it only occupy just the width that it requires. Please I don't know if I'm sounding very fast. This is not this one is just a makeup video. The video that I did earlier on in the class, I mistakenly deleted it. So I'm doing a new one now so I can send it to the group so everybody can watch it. So please, I just hope I'm not fast. So let's move on. Let's look at inline elements. So I'm just going to pick one example of inline element. Of course, we have a lot of inline elements. So I'm just going to pick one. And that one I'm going to pick is this one here, the anchor tag. So the anchor tag is also called the link tag, the link. The link. So the link in a web page actually help us to be able to navigate from one page to another page. So link actually help us to be able to navigate from one page to another page, from one site to another site, from one part of a page to another part of the same page. So that navigation, moving from one place to another place, is achievable by what? Link, link, an HTML element. So we are going to look at inline. We are going to look at this to be able to understand inline elements. So how do we do that? So I can come here, I can say, okay, link. Think it has an href attribute which we are going to look at. We are going to look at link in details tomorrow. So I can just do something like learn more. Learn more. We can have another link. We can say uh, for more info. For then we can say href. Do something like visit my website. And I think let's do the last one. And also notice that when I'm creating my tags or HTML element generally, I don't have to write opening bracket, opening angle bracket and closing angle bracket. No, I don't have to write it like this one. Yeah, I don't have to do it. I'm just doing it for because of your sake as a beginner. Normally, if I want to type it, so if it is a link I want to type, I just type A. So it's going to bring Mnet abbreviation is going to bring this for me. So I'm going to press enter. It's going to automatically generate what the opening tag and the closing tag of what link. I'm going to say the same thing too for every other HTML element, such as maybe you want to create H1 now. Instead of doing something like this, H1. All you just have to do is just click on H1 and press what enter. It generates the opening tag and the closing tag automatically. But please don't be used to this in case Mnet abbreviation disappoints you. So just go back. You just have to fall back to the manual way of doing it. All right, so let's proceed. Now, uh, let's just use one. Let's use one. Let's use three actually. So I think I'm cool with this. So that's what we have. Can you see? Learn more for more info. Visit my website. You can see that this particular element they are not starting on what? They are not starting on a new line. You can see that they are stacked side by side each other. So this is what an inline element. So it only takes up the width that is appropriate for its content. So the width that is appropriate for its content. So inline element doesn't start on a new line. You can see the way they are being stacked on top of each other. So that's the difference between inline element and what block element. And if you look at other examples of inline elements such as span, image, emphasize text, strong. So all of these they are what inline element. So in inline block, we are going to look at that in CSS. We're going to look at that in CSS. So let us look at HTML list, HTML element list. Let us look at list, for example. So I think you understand the block element and inline block. So notice if I use my pesticide now, see what we have. You can see that this box here is the width of the link content. So it only takes the width that is appropriate for its content. So that is required for its content. It doesn't take much, it doesn't take beyond the width that is appropriate for its content. It doesn't take the width that is required, it doesn't take more than the width that is required for its content, unlike the block element. So can you see it? So if I keep writing on new, if I keep writing another anchor tag, it's just going to be stacking side by side on the same line. All right, so that's that. Let's do something. So the one that we did earlier, I want to see what we have. Okay, all right. So now, then the next thing is list. Let us look at list. What exactly is list? What is it? So list. So we have three types of list. So but we are going to be looking at ordered list and unordered list. We also have definition list. So we'll look at that later. But the one we use more often than not, the one we use regularly is what ordered list and unordered list. So let's look at ordered list. So there are lots of occasions where we need to use list. There are lots of occasions where we need to use list. So HTML provides us with three types of list, three different types of list. So let's look at ordered list. So ordered list, these are lists where each item in the list is numbered. These are lists where each items in the list is what? Numbered. For example, the list might be a set of steps for a recipe that must be what? Performed in order. So this kind of list or this type of list is ordered. It's a list that is numbered, which simply means that the next item is dependent on the previous item. So it has to be what? In order. So there are things that you can list out in order. Let's say for example, you want a set of steps for a recipe. Let's say how to fry egg, how to make ogbono soup, how to do all kinds of things, how to repair whatever that you know that the next step actually depends on the previous step. Let's say for example, aside from cooking a recipe, what other example can we use again? What other example? What other example? What other example? Oh, okay, let's say you want to watch a TV channel now, for example. So the step is first of all, you turn on the system, you turn on the your TV set, you turn it on. Once you turn it on, then you go to the channel that you want to watch. So you can see the steps. You can't go to the channel that you want to watch before turning on the system, your TV set. So you can see that each steps depends on the previous what steps. So that is ordered list, and this is how to do it. This is how to do it. I'm just going to come here. I'm going to type something like H3. I'm going to say set of steps for making fried egg. Set of steps for making fried egg. Then that's that. So let's see what we have. And you see this is also a heading. Set of steps for making fried egg. So I come here. What do I need? I just and then since it is ordered list, so what I need is a container, a order list container. So I'll just do OL and I press enter. So I'm going to press enter. So I'm going to have a space between the opening tag of OL and the closing tag of what? OL. So in between these, that's where I'm going to have the list. So I can have different type of list. Yeah, I can have the steps. Yeah, so for me to write the steps, all I just have to do is type list. Then I say put what did I write? Yes, I think I've done it before. So I say put a measure of groundnut oil in a frying pan. So I just say put a measure of groundnut oil in a frying pan. Then the next one, enter. The next one is allow it to steam for a while. Allow it to allow it to steam for a while. I don't know if steam is the right word. Let's say 2 minutes to save. The the next one is pour the egg into the pan and pour the egg into the frying pan. Then the next one is allow, what did I write here? I think allow it to fry for a while. So let's just use this. Allow it to fry for a while. We save. So this is ordered list. So if you view it here now, you can see it is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. It means that number 2 depends on what? Number 1. So very, very simple. So this is what we have. So now let's look at unordered list. So let's also look at unordered list. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to do another unordered list. I'm just going to do H3. I'm going to do 5. What did I write here? Actually, list of things in my house. So list of things in my house. List of things in my house. So this one doesn't have to be in any particular order. This one doesn't have to be in any particular order. So you can use what? UL. So use UL. So we say UL. UL simply means unordered list. So we're going to press enter so I can list out those things. So I can say LI. So lap, laptop is one of them. Things that are in my house. Phone, phone, bed. What again? Utensil. What again? Toilet, toy, toiletries. I hope I'm correct. So let's see this. Now, can you see? You can see bullet point coming. Let me zoom it. Let me zoom out. So can you see it? Laptop, phone, but we can see that this is in a bullet point. Why this one is numbered? So this one can be in any. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. But this one, which is ordered list, has to be in a particular order. So I think that's that about list. That's that about list. So please take note of that. Then the next one I also want us to look at is what? The image tag. The image. So we want to look at the image, and after the image, we call it a day. After the image, we call it a day. So okay, let's proceed. Now for the image tag is used to display image on the web page. The image tag is used to display image on a web page, and there are two tags that the image tag has two required attributes. There are two attributes that are important for the image tag that you need to have, which is what? The source attribute and the what? The source attribute and the alternative attribute or the alt attribute. And let us look at it. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to look for a cart image. Yeah, I'm going to look for this one. So this is the one I want to use. Now let's say this particular cart image is inside of a browser. It's inside of a website. And the title of the website is Pixel Bay. And I want to use this image. So there are two ways to use this image on my web page. There are two ways. It's either I copy the address of the image and use it, or I download the image and use it. So there are two ways. Though I have it downloaded, so I'm just going to use it. But I'm going to show you the first one. I'm going to show you how to use it by copying the image address. So I'm just going to come here, I will right click on it, and you will see something like copy image address. Is this one you're going to click on? Don't go and click on copy link address. Link address is different from image address. So just click on copy image address. Once you click on it, then we come to our VS Code. So all we just need is to write what we need to write the image tag. So write image tag. So this image tag automatically is going to give us now. Please notice now. Please, once I type img and I press enter, it's going to bring the source attribute and the auth attribute. But if you are typing it one after the other yourself, like this, img, this is what it's just going to bring. So your own is just to come inside there and just put the source yourself, put the source yourself, and put the alt yourself. So let's look at the source now. So this is how the source looks like. The source. So the source simply is an attribute that actually help you to specify the part of the image. So this is where you are going to put the part of the image. So we have copied the image address. We are going to paste it here. So we are going to paste it in the source attribute. Now, so it's going to be in between this quote, this double quote here. Though it's not going to be outside, in between this what double quote. So I'm just going to press, I'm going to paste it inside what I copied. And I'm going in this alternate simply means alternate text. So it specifies an alternate text for the image if the image for some reason cannot be displayed. Now, if the image for some reason cannot be displayed, the user can know that, okay, this is the image that you are trying to display. So I can say cat image, for example, and I save. Now look at what we have. And you see cat. This is the cat. Let's say, for example, for one reason or the other, we could not display this image. Let's say we just remove one part, one character in this image address. Now, notice what we have here. You won't see the image, but you will see what the alternative text, which is what cat what image. So let's go back and undo what we did. So press to undo what you have done. You press what Ctrl Z. Can you see it? It has been undone. So now look at what we have. Then we can also reduce the size and the height. We can reduce the width and the height, or increase the width and the height of this image inside of what? Of the image tag. And we can do that using this. So press another space. You know, I told you that whenever I want to write more than one attribute inside of a tag, if you want to write more than one attribute, you have to use what? Space. So space character actually helps you to separate to create a space between one attribute from another attribute. So please, and notice that this image tag is a self-closing tag. This image tag is a self-closing tag. The image tag doesn't have an opening, a closing tag, so it is self-closing. So like I said earlier, if you remember, that there are some elements that are self-closing. So it's not all elements that all have opening tag and what closing tag. Not all elements. So example of element that is self-closing is what? Image. Notice that it doesn't have what? A closing tag. It is self-closing. It is a self-closing tag. So look at it here. You can see this forward slash, then the close angle bracket. So I'm going to create a height attribute, and I'm going to give it, let's say 300, space again, then a width, then 300. You can see it's going to reduce a bit. So this is what we have here. Then I can also create for a dog. Um, I can also do that for a dog. Let me come here for dog. Where is it? Here's this one. So I'm just going to copy the image address and come here and do the same thing too. img, enter. I'm just going to paste the email address there. I'm going to do dog image. So I'm going to also create a space. I do 300, another one with, I'll do what 300. So I save it. So you can see, if you want to save, because with this now you will not still see it in your browser, so you have to save your file. You have to save your file every time. So you press Ctrl S. But there's a way that it auto saves by itself. And we are going to look at that tomorrow or next tomorrow, whereby we can tweak the settings and make it to auto save. So anything that we are typing, it auto saves it saves automatically. So until then, we just have to press Ctrl X, because look at it here. When you see this yellow ball here, it shows that it has not been saved. But the moment you press Ctrl S, it changes to what times. It means that what it has been saved. Now look at what we have. So you can see now that img, that is image tag, is what an inline element. So it only takes up the width that is appropriate or required for its content. So it doesn't start on a new line. I can see that it's stacked side by side. So if we download another image now, for instance, it's still going to be the same thing as long as the size of the image is not bigger than the space available. Because if it's bigger than the space available is going to come under. So now we have just looked at using um, image tag, using copying the image address. But what if we have it downloaded? What if we have it downloaded? Now the downside of copying image address is this: if the website you the image that you are using in a particular website crashed, or it stopped working, or it was deleted from a server or whatever, that means in your website you will not be able to see the image again. So it is very important that you download the image, then you can now use it on your folder. So now apparently we are in class 1 folder, and class 1 folder is inside of what? Parent front end development folder. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this cat. I'll copy I'll copy the cat. Where is it? So I'm just going to Control C. I'll copy, then I'll come to desktop, then I'll come to class 1, then I paste it inside. Control V, Control V. So it has been saved. It has been pasted there. So you will see it here now, cat. So where this cat is, I'm just going to come here. I'm going to remove the image address. The image address, I'm just going to put what? Cat there. I'll put cat dot what? JPEG. You can see it's even giving us option. It's giving us the this thing, highlighting the first. I'm just going to click on it. So it's going to still be the same, still the same thing. So this is how to do that. This is how to do it. So it's very, very simple. It is very, very simple. So I want you to go over this video and watch it over and over again until you understand it. Then tomorrow we'll meet again and we'll continue from where we stop. So please, the action point, or the most important thing that you need to know, is the HTML, the meaning of HTML, how to generate HTML boilerplate, um, HTML element, what's the meaning of HTML element, HTML tags and HTML attributes, and block element, inline block element and inline element, structural and semantic markup, and other HTML element that we looked at, like ordered list and ordered list, then image tag. So all these things, these are the things that I need you to also pay attention to and understand very, 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 very well before we move to the next. Before we understand it, so that when we move to the next class, it will be quite easy for you. So until then, do have a lovely day.